Queen Street United Methodist Church in downtown Kinston, North Carolina. Welcome to our weekly Bible study. Today we're going to be covering, we'll get into chapter 12. And 12 is an interesting chapter because it lays out the design for Josiah's reform. And there's all kinds of reforms. You can reform laws, and you can reform procedures, and you can reform all kinds of stuff. But some reformations get pretty tough, and we've seen, like for instance, when the Protestant Reformation started. Okay, things got pretty tough in that Reformation too. So let's take a look at chapter 12. These are the statutes and ordinances. Pardon my voice today, I'm a little hoarse. Anyway, these are the statutes and ordinances that you must diligently observe in the land of the Lord, the God of your ancestors, who has given you to occupy all the days that you live on the earth. You must demolish completely all the places where the nations whom you are about to dispossess serve their gods on the mountain heights, on the hills, and under every leafy tree. Break down their altars, smash their pillars, burn their sacred poles with fire, hew down the idols of their gods, and thus blot out their name from their places. You shall not worship the Lord your God in such ways, but you shall seek the place that the Lord your God will choose out of all your tribes as his habitation to put his name there. This is a setup, okay? We'll talk about that. You shall go there, bringing there your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and your donations, your votive gifts, your freewill offerings, and the firstlings of your herds and flocks, and you shall eat there in the presence of the Lord your God, you and your households together, rejoicing in all the undertakings in which the Lord your God has blessed you. Okay, what's going on? Well, this book, Deuteronomy, is ostensibly a discovery that took place during the reign of Josiah. Josiah was a great reformer, and while his predecessors as kings of Israel, kings of Israel, were pagan and brought the people into pagan worship. And this was something that was started by Solomon in all of his wisdom. But somehow or other, they discovered this document that showed what you're supposed to do to reform the country. And what they're going to do is not just to outlaw alternate religions, they are going to utterly destroy any traces of other religions. One of the things that you will note, however, is that, or we should note, is that when one religion comes in and destroys another religion, they tend to build their shrines on top of the places where the other religions were. Okay? I think the classic example is the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, built on the Temple Mount. He says destroy all these things on the high places. Well, the high places are places where people typically set up altars in their worship of Yahweh and all of that. There's a hint here, though, that this is not necessarily the trend that Josiah wants. Okay? So, and it's stuck here in the middle of the paragraph. But you shall seek the place that the Lord your God will choose out of all your tribes as his habitation to put his name there. Where do you think that is? Where is that one place that's going to be the place where the name of the Lord is?
In the tabernacle in Jerusalem.
Yeah. Yep. Actually in the temple in Jerusalem. Okay. So what is happening here is something that monarchs tend to do, and that is when they can grab any kind of institution, they tend it'd be easy for me to say, they trend to centralize them and focus them to one place where they can be readily controlled. This was what David wanted to do. God prohibited him from doing it, but guess who got to do it? Solomon. Okay, Solomon did. And the style of temple that Solomon set up in Jerusalem was really like the same pattern that pagan temples looked like in many respects. Although it was a permanent fixture with the same kind of layout as the tabernacle. Okay, but if you look at the structure of the building and everything, if you went to some other place where they had a big temple, this would it's like going down the street and say, oh, that's a church, you know? And sometimes you can go down the street and say, that's either a Methodist church or it used to be. You know? So, you know, you can pick out different styles. I can pick out Episcopal churches pretty easily. I can pick out big Baptist churches pretty easily.
That church in Rifton.
Yeah.
At the top of the hill.
Yeah.
You'd look at that and never know it was a Baptist church.
No, you wouldn't. That is an exception. That's an incredible structure. It almost.
Church is so
It wasn't always Baptist.
Right.
No, it was
Yeah.
Catholic at one time. wasn't it?
There you go. Wow.
Yeah.
You'd think the Baptists wouldn't set foot in it, but anyway.
Catholic Big Seagull.
Yeah. So, but his structure was such that anybody who went into Jerusalem would know that that was a religious building of some sort. It was a temple in the style of temples. Okay, so while it was a remarkable building and one of the wonders of the ancient world, it was a better temple than virtually any pagan temples around. It was still in that general style. But what Josiah is doing, he's trying to centralize religion so that it has a focus of place. And where that place is, just, I don't know, for some reason or other, seems to be right next door to the place where the government is. So what you're seeing here is an attempt by, understand, Josiah is trying to bring people back to following the law and the traditions of Judaism and all of that. But what you're seeing is a relationship between church and state, if you want to call it that, or Judaism and state, that it's sometimes difficult to discern the difference between the two. Okay? One of the things that motivated us and motivated a lot of people to set up a government that was devoid of religion, and immigrants came over here trying to come to a place where the government was devoid of religion, was that there were so many religious wars instituted by governments and sponsored by governments in the places that they came from. And one of the things that we rejected very quickly was that the king was the head of the church in England. Okay? When we got our independence, there wasn't going to be any of that. So just be aware that even though the motivation might have been pretty good to get people back to worshiping the Lord, okay, the technique of doing that was very forcible. Okay, because they didn't just destroy the shrines, they also killed the pagan priests and, persecuted anybody.
Was that at Josiah's, was he the one that told them to do it that way?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Or
no,
wasn't didn't he want the people to come back to the law? Isn't that what he was?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it just so happened that during his reign, they discovered this law. Kind of convenient, okay? It's good. It's good when we are reminded to get back to our faith roots, okay? That's a good thing. But when you start running into these, sometimes documents of convenience.
So I'm asking this.
Mm-hmm.
Did Josiah feel like this was what God was telling him to do? Or was this Josiah's way of trying to get the people back to the law that they had found?
Okay.
That's
Okay.
both. It's really
It is both. It is both. But understand, we haven't lived under a monarchy for a long, long time. Okay. The monarch, every monarch, not only considers themselves to be head of government, the monarch also considers him or herself to be the expression of God. They derive their power by divine right. And so because they derive their power by divine right, they consider their actions to be the will of God. Or God wouldn't have given them the right. Right?
Dennis,
Yeah,
I have a question.
yeah,
Is that phone plugged up to the internet?
no.
I didn't think it was.
The microphone was not.
I'm
This
right.
is more better. Okay.
Now they know who
I
you
didn't,
are.
I didn't, so you're all safe. Nobody heard you, they just got my answers, so I'm the only one at risk here. I see a bunch of people coming in, and they're all saying hi. So let's say hi back to them, okay? I really have not been just talking to myself. I just want you to know that.
There is somebody here besides you.
That's true. That's true.
Somebody asked me that they had listened to this. They wanted to know was there class here.
Yeah.
They can't hear our questions.
I can't remember who asked me that, but they asked me that. They said, "Oh, it's a class and y'all were there." And I said, "Yeah, we're talking back and forth."
Yep. Surprise, surprise.
Shazam.
So anyway, I just want you to know, as you read through these things, that there are things in it that are beneficial, but there are also things in there that are inherently questionable. Okay? It's not just what you're trying to do, how you're trying to do it also matters a lot. Understand, there's not going to be any dialogue taking place between Judaism and paganism. There's going to be war.
But that gets back to the very beginning. When God told them to take the land,
Yeah.
he told them to do that according to the Bible.
Yes.
To kill all the pagans, to kill the children, the women, the animals, and they didn't do it. And then you had corrupt kings, but Josiah was a good king.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to get the people back. So you could argue that he was following God's ordinance to kill the pagans and to kill off those religions.
And that has been argued.
And we'll continue to argue.
And we'll continue to argue it. Okay?
Agree to
But-
disagree, right?
This should not inform, it has informed Christianity on how Christianity was supposed to spread. Christianity, according to this, if we're Christian and we're people of God and we're, expanding the faith, then what you got to do is convert people or kill them.
Well, but
In
then
the
after
Old Testament.
Jesus came,
That's in the Old Testament.
it's like, no, we've changed all that now.
We would think that, but that's not how the church has acted.
Well, I
Okay?
guess you're right.
That's,
I guess you're right.
it's part of our history. And the thing that is difficult is when people can smoothly, without reflection, switch from New Testament to Old Testament when it suits their purpose. So, just bear that in mind, because that's, that's an issue. That's an issue, but people down through the ages, we are less inclined, generally speaking, as Christianity, we are less inclined to do that so much lately. Okay? That doesn't mean that we won't become more inclined to do it depending on who we're listening to in our generation.
Are you talking about killing people?
Yes, Yes.
Over religion.
over religion.
Yeah, but Christian, in
Well,
today's
I know that,
world,
but, yeah.
Well, they,
at least in
they,
our world,
In our
don't
world,
do that,
we have set up a model.
which is good.
Yeah, we have set up a model in this country where people are not allowed to do that. Okay? That model does not exist in other countries, even those that are Christian. So you still have lethal tension going on between factions of Christianity. You know, we saw this very clearly in World War II, where the Croatians, Roman Catholics, were allowed by the Germans to expand their territory to include a lot of Serbia, and they began to annihilate Serbs who were Serbian Orthodox. Okay?
Was it for that reason?
No, it was to steal their stuff, and then they banked it in the Vatican. Okay, there's some nasty history going on in Christianity, and that's, basically not too distant from our generation. So we have to be careful that that sort of thing doesn't go on. And what we've tried to do, I have heard when I was a kid, especially sermons against this faction of Christianity or that faction of Christianity, and altogether you hear that we're all going to hell as Methodists, and those Baptists have never really caught on, and all of that. There is that kind of statement that is a little bit more than just a team rivalry. But if you took that to another country, we'd be killing each other. It would become a justification. Okay? So we have to really watch it. And that, those factions have happened within Christianity. You can imagine how easy it is to move beyond that to a faith base that is not Christian at all.
was that the same thing in Ireland with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Catholics and Protestants. You didn't see Irish nationalists against British colonialists. You saw Catholics and Protestants were at each other's throats.
But and I felt like that, but it really, again, this is the world according to Dan, it really wasn't that. It was the British coming into Ireland and taking their land.
Yes.
I always thought it was the Catholics. I said, why can't the Catholics and Protestants get along? But potato farmers.
Yeah.
And so the British started taking their land and
Yes.
killing the people.
Yes.
And it
And
became
starving.
it was Protestants and Catholics, and that really wasn't the reason. It was just greed.
Yes. Which is the root cause for a lot of the conflicts. Okay? It's just that
Sometimes
religion
gets blamed when it's really not about religion.
Religion doesn't get blamed, religion gets subverted. Okay? And that's the thing that we really have to watch out for. And I'm going to bring this up later, but the devil is much better at subverting the church than the devil is at destroying the church. So we always have to be on guard about this. Just in running my little food pantry in Aden, I've seen government encroachment, and it's like the nose of the camel getting under the tent, and all of a sudden you got the hump, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, let's kick the camel out of the tent, just so that they're not running the show and claiming a religious justification for it. It was better to do without their food than it was to comply with their anti-religious policies. So that's, it's just something we have to be on guard for. Because the way this country was set up is that government and religion would operate in a dynamic tension with neither one in control. The church was supposed to be the conscience of government, okay? And government was there to see that that conscience didn't get out of control and go beyond the limitations of what the law allows. So there is a dynamic tension. Back then, especially under a monarchy and in more recent times, that tension has been eliminated. Government and religion are synonymous. And whenever that happens, it doesn't fare well for either. So yes, is it messy here? You bet. Let's keep it messy. That's the healthiest thing that we can have, is a dynamic tension. Because with a dynamic tension, you have a much more likelihood to have a beneficial outcome. You just do. The whole system that we have is based on conflict, but not a conflict that's armed. Okay? It's a conflict of dialogue and law. And that's how we're supposed to work things out. That's how we're supposed to work things out. It's completely new to the human experiment. But that's, and I'm not saying we're really good at it, because from time to time,
I think we're getting worse at it.
we've let some pendulums swing pretty far. But
we're really new at it. We're just in the kindergarten stage.
we really are. We really are. And I think there's a test going on right now to see how resilient the system is.
So who's testing us?
I think God and the Satan have had a dialogue again.
You're talking about the election.
Well, every election, not just this one, every one. I mean, we had an election in a couple of centuries ago where we actually went to war over the results. And we're not immune to this kind of thing. So we need, and that, some of the results of that conflict were beneficial, but look at the cost. It was horrible.
But didn't they think, well, just from what I think, sometimes I think they thought that the loss, it was beneficial to lose to get to where you wanted to be. That makes sense to you?
Yeah.
That, there was destruction and killing, but the ultimate goal was to get here. And in the course of getting there, all of this had to happen.
Yeah, and the thing that's also interesting about that is that when the war was over, it took us close to 100 years to achieve the goal that they were fighting over in the last century.
But it hasn't been achieved.
Well, and no, it hasn't. It hasn't. But in terms of setting up, reforming the legal system, so that the things that were abhorrent finally became illegal, took a long time. So, I mean, we are on a long journey. We're on a very long journey, and you got to take a long view about a lot of this stuff, because we're not going to be out of the soup for generations, and each generation has got to learn all over again what was important and what isn't. So we're cycling through, okay? We're cycling through, but we have at least a system where corrections can be much more benignly achieved. So that's good. That's good.
But in our growth, we're leaving things back for the generation behind us. We hope that's going to be beneficial, and we're learning as we go so that those behind us won't have to.
Yes. Yes. Now, I have to tell you, I guess I'm prejudiced, I know that we've got a lot of things messed up, because I come out of, you know, that 60s and all that stuff. But when I look at the potential of the next generation, I think that their kids and grandkids are going to have some issues too. You know, we always have issues. We're human. You know, we always have issues. That we're human, and that's who we are. That's what we do. And so this is always going to be something that we're supposed to work out. And the thing that we need to remember is that the faith that we believe in Christianity has the potential to resolve a lot of these issues in a very beneficial way. Okay? We just got to make sure that we do no harm. Because I have not, I've been in other countries, and I've seen other religions, and I see how they work, and what kind of cultures have evolved out of those religions. And I tell you, glad to get home. Glad to get home. I really do think that we have some of the finest concepts in religion that humanity has ever experienced. And it gives me hope. It gives me a lot of hope. So, let's see what else they say. You shall not act as we are acting here today, all of us according to our own desires. Sounds like the time of the judges. For you have not yet come into the rest and the possession that the Lord your God is giving you. When you cross over Jordan and live in the land that the Lord your God is allotting to you, and when he gives you rest from all your enemies all around you so that you live in safety, then you shall bring everything that I command you to the place that the Lord your God will choose as a dwelling for his name. Once again, Jerusalem, okay? Your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, your donations, and all your choice votive gifts that you vow to the Lord. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, you together with your sons and daughters, your male and female slaves. Look at that, they got slaves right in there. And the Levites who reside in your town, since they have no allotment or inheritance with you. So there you go. And, you know, the second part of chapter 12 is all about the sanctuary in Jerusalem. So, once again, this is a drawing in, okay? And if you are going to worship God, this is a good way for the system, government and religious, to monitor who's coming in and who's staying home. So it's and then you've got the Levites in all the communities. Okay, so the Levites don't have an allotment, but they are embedded into the society, and they are the watchdogs for the religious community, but they are also therefore the watchdogs for the government. So, you know,
So because they're the priest family, they're the watchdogs?
No, the Levites.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Levites, but they are the family of the priest.
Well, no, they are the ones who are the worker-bees in the temple and the enforcers of the law.
So the priest came from Aaron,
Yeah,
but Aaron came from the Levites. So I always thought the Levites were the priestly tribe.
no,
No?
it's the Aaronic priesthood.
The what?
Aaronic.
So in other words, the
Aaron.
Levites,
Was
their job was to dismantle the
Yeah,
temple and carry it and be the
yes,
workers.
they were, well, yeah, and they were
The
the,
worker bees.
yeah, they were also the hip and thigh people, you know? Levites were put in the towns, and they weren't, and they were to make sure that nobody played around. They were the enforcers. Okay? They taught the law, but they also enforced the law.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I mean, this is early Judaism. Okay? This isn't Judaism today. This is early Judaism. But just something to think about. Well, we're running down, and we're halfway through 12. We'll pick up the last part of 12 next week. But thanks for all being here, and thank you for tuning in. And if you have any more questions or comments or snide remarks, you can send them to revlev@nccumc.org. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Well,
Good day.
remember.